Hello everyone, welcome back to today's video. Happy Valentine's Day and Happy President's Day, but we all know which one is more important. Since today is a special holiday, I've decided to make a President's Day special where I rank the top 10 best presidents based on achievements. Let's get started. Number 10, Rutherford B. Hayes. President Hayes only served one term, and his election was tinted by the shady activities of an electoral commission that threw out electoral votes given to his opponent. But Hayes still accomplished some great things, key of which were the reforms he made to civil service and the efforts he made to stamp out corruption. President Hayes reformed laws to make appointments based on merit instead of personal relationships and benefits. He was also a longtime abolitionist. Number 9, Harry S. Truman. President Truman assumed the presidency after Franklin Roosevelt died in office. He won in an upset, with newspapers projecting that Thomas Dewey, Truman's opponent, had won. Harry Truman's accomplishments included desegregating the military, a start to future civil rights legislation. Truman avoided a repeat of what happened after World War I and helped rebuild Europe as well as Japan. The last achievement Truman did was oversee the creation of NATO and the United Nations. Number 8, Thomas Jefferson. President Jefferson was only the third president, and his achievements included buying the Louisiana Territory from France, drastically increasing the size of the United States. Jefferson improved relations with France as well. A notable accomplishment from before his presidency, Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Number 7, a controversial choice, Lyndon Johnson. President Johnson assumed the presidency after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. LBJ gets a horrible reputation for his handling of the Vietnam War, in which he made many mistakes. But otherwise, Johnson passed major civil rights legislation and the Voting Rights Act. President Johnson started the war on poverty with his Great Society programs. Whether you agree with his methods or not, a worthy goal. If LBJ did not have the same troubles with Vietnam, I believe that he'd be remembered far better today. Number 6, Dwight Eisenhower. President Eisenhower was the supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II, planning the invasion of D-Day. While he was president, Eisenhower passed civil rights legislation and took action to desegregate schools. President Eisenhower also helped build the highway system and national infrastructure. Among other achievements, he founded the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, commonly known as NASA. Number 5, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. President Kennedy was Eisenhower's successor, but was shot partway through his term. But in the time he served, JFK increased action on civil rights using the National Guard and made a speech stating the need for legislation that Lyndon Johnson passed. Another achievement was his oversight during the high tensions of the Cold War, and possibly the highest point, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The United States went to DEFCON 2, preparing for war, because Soviet missiles were placed in Cuba. JFK negotiated the missiles out of Cuba and de-escalated tensions. The last accomplishment I will mention is the famous pledge President Kennedy made to get the United States to the moon by the end of the 1960s. The U.S. did this winning the space race. Number 4, George Washington. Washington is put on the top of many lists for good reason. He was seen as the only figure to unite America, a country he helped create by leading the fledgling nation's forces against the British. President Washington helped stop the country from descending into monarchy by stopping revolutions and refusing to seek a third term. And as of 2021, Washington is the only independent president. While political parties were in their beginnings, Washington did not openly affiliate himself with any party. Of course, only Washington's stature allowed him to do this. Number 3, Theodore Roosevelt. President Roosevelt, like many others on my list, took over as president after William McKinley was killed. As of 2021, he is the youngest president to serve, though the youngest elected president is John F. Kennedy. Roosevelt became vice president because political bosses did not like him, but of course this backfired. When president, Roosevelt became a trust buster, breaking up large companies that had large amounts of control over industries. Another major accomplishment was protecting huge amounts of land by making them national parks. Overall, Teddy Roosevelt was a very cool dude, a cowboy in the West, a war hero, and he nearly died traveling down an unmapped river in South America. As well, many of his ideas were ahead of his time, even agreeing with him or not. Number 2, Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR, Teddy Roosevelt's cousin, is the only president to serve more than 2 terms. President Franklin Roosevelt's achievements are only rivaled by the person occupying the number 1 spot on this list. Franklin Roosevelt was elected during extraordinary circumstances when the United States was going through one of the worst economic disasters in history. The Great Depression took 12 million people's jobs in 1932, the year Franklin Roosevelt was elected. But not only did FDR guide the country through this terrible time, he was also president during the Second World War. It is quite astounding that Roosevelt did this, even though he was dying of polio during his tenure. He couldn't even walk, but still led the country. Number 1, you're definitely expecting this one, Donald Trump. Not actually, I'm not discussing the most recent presidents. Number 1, actually, Abraham Lincoln. Even as tough as the Great Depression and World War II were, President Lincoln presided over a chunk of the country seceding from the Union. Think of the partisan divide nowadays, and then realize that it was so bad over one issue, slavery, that most of the South left the country. But Abraham Lincoln led the country through this, and eventually oversaw the surrender of the Confederate Army. Even though Lincoln was unfortunately assassinated during his second term, one of his major accomplishments was abolishing slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation. Another one, far lesser known, is that Lincoln signed legislation establishing the Intercontinental Railroad, connecting the country by train. After the country splitting practically in two, this was a symbolic act as well. But his leadership during the Civil War was worthy enough to make me place him number 1 on this list. That marks the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this special. If you did, like the video and check out my channel to see my regular content. If you enjoy those, subscribe to see more. Also, sorry if I stuttered at all. I'm reading off a script, so I tend to do that when I'm reading. Thanks for watching, by the way, and I'll see you all next time.